be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus took Peter, John, and James and went up the mountain to pray. While he was praying, his face changed in appearance. His clothes became dazzling white. And behold, two men were conversing with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep, but becoming fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him. As they were about to part from him, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." But he did not know what he was saying. While he was still speaking, a cloud came and cast a shadow over them, and they became frightened when they entered the cloud. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my chosen Son. Listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. They fell silent and did not at that time tell anyone what they had seen. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
So in the Gospel today, we heard Jesus taking Peter, James, and John up a mountain to pray. And the mountain that the church says he took them up is Mount Tabor. And Mount Tabor is about 11 miles west of the Sea of Galilee. And it's a high mountain. And you can visit it today, and you can walk up it if you would like. And depending on the path you take, it takes between 2 and 5 hours to walk up to the top of the mountain. So it's not an easy climb. And I bet in Jesus' time it was even a harder climb. And I remember listening to a Catholic radio show a couple weeks ago, and the two hosts are kind of funny guys. They were on a pilgrimage, and their buses stopped at Mount Tabor, and they got out. And one of them said, "You know, I've always wondered why Jesus only took Peter, James, and John up that mountain. But standing here at the bottom, looking at the top, I can imagine the other 9 guys said, 'You know what? You guys go ahead. We'll just wait here.'" That's probably not the real reason, but that's what he thought. So they went to the mountain to pray. And when they were there, the disciples saw Jesus differently. His face changed in appearance. His clothes became dazzling white. And what they were seeing, they saw him in his glory, transfigured right before them, transformed into something beautiful in his glory. And that glory that they saw is for us, too. That's our goal, to see Jesus in his glory. Except our path to that glory doesn't necessarily lead up Mount Tabor. Our path leads through our daily life. And one writer in a magazine put it, on our path, on our journey, there are no pristine paths. So our paths are all different. Some are more difficult than others. Your path might be like the 2-hour trip up the mountain. Somebody else's might be like the 5-hour trip up the mountain. The point is, there's no path that is pristine. There's no path that does not require effort, and no path that does not include some type of struggle. And we kind of know that, right? We know life is not easy, and we know life can sometimes be really hard. And we can be journeying on our path and run into those roadblocks that seem to stop us. And they make us feel ashamed or afraid or lost. And sometimes we can suffer so much that we can feel totally abandoned. Abandoned by everybody around us, even abandoned by God. Just out there by ourselves, left to fend for ourselves, not really knowing what to do. So when that happens on our journey, on our path, how do we continue? How do we get through that roadblock? How do we heal from that so that we can move on and keep following our path? Well, if we look at the gospel, I think we can get a couple clues. First, when Jesus and the disciples were going up the mountain, they weren't going up each one by themselves, were they? They were going up together. So I think that's something we can take out of that on our journey. It seems to me it'd be pretty hard to heal from brokenness and hurts if we just isolate ourselves. I think we would heal better if we are in the presence of others. If we travel the journey together and not just by ourselves. So we want to be with people like valued family members and trusted friends and people who love us, people who will listen to us, people who will comfort us, people who will console us, people who will hold out their hand so that we can grab it and they can help us up the mountain. So that's the first thing we can take on our journey, as we do it together. The second thing, when the disciples were going up the mountain with Jesus, they were with Jesus, right? They could see him. He's right there. That's Jesus. We're with him. He's with us. That's the other thing I think we need to take away from this, is that on our journey, Jesus is with us. And if we just stop, look, and pay attention, we can see him. We can see him with us. So how does that work? How do we see Jesus in our everyday life? What does he look like? So let me tell you a couple of stories and see if it helps. So it was about a month ago. I got a phone call that no dad ever wants to get, but I got it. It came late in the night, so I didn't answer it, but I listened to the voicemail the next morning. And to hear your grown daughter crying on the other end of the phone because something bad happened to her is heartbreaking. Not only that, because she is so far away, there's nothing I really could do. So that made me feel pretty helpless, pretty worthless as a dad. So I came to Mass and brought a friend of mine to Mass. His name is Kevin. And he said, "Hey, bro, what's the matter?" I'm like, "Nothing." He says, "Nope, I can tell by the look in your eyes. Something's going on. What's the matter?" So I told him the story. And his response to me was priceless. He just says, "Okay, bro, I got you. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start a prayer chain on Facebook and have everybody in the city of Flint praying for you, your family, and your daughter. How about that?" I'm like, "Whatever, Kevin, just whatever." So he did it. And I can't tell you how moving it is to see the words of people I didn't even know. Words of comfort, words of mercy, prayers. That was not heartbreaking, that was healing. And then I saw him. I saw Jesus. I saw Jesus in the face of Kevin, and I saw Jesus in all those people that shared all that kindness with me. And you know, it doesn't have to even be that dramatic. You know, when you're having a rough day and you're driving to work and somebody lets you in traffic, or somebody waves and smiles, somebody says something nice to you, somebody helps you with something, there he is. There's Jesus, taking care of you and loving you. And once we know that love, once we feel that love like I felt, once we are consoled that way, guess what? We can share that with other people. And we can let them see Jesus in us. They have a chance to see Jesus in their life through us. So where I work, there are many buildings. And my job takes me from building to building. And in one of those buildings, a friend of mine has an office. His name's Dave. Diamond Dave, we call him. And I was going to his building to meet with another man named Mike, to do some work with Mike. And when I walked in the door, I thought, I should really go see Dave. I haven't seen him in a long time. I just kind of wonder how he's doing. So I went to Dave's office, and Mike saw me, so he followed me. And, you stand there and you do the things you always talk about. How's the kids? How's the family? How's everything? How's work? And that lasted for a couple minutes, and after that, Dave just, surrendered. He just opened up. And he told Mike and I about how he had just lost a good friend 2 weeks prior in a snowmobile accident in the UP. And how he was the one that found him on the road after he'd been hit by a car. So all the work Mike and I were going to do, it just stopped. And we just sat there with Dave and just listened to Dave. Just let him pour out his hurts, his guilt, his anger, whatever he was feeling. And we just listened. And there he was again. There was Jesus. Jesus in Mike. Jesus in me. Just consoling a friend. I remember the youth group kids coming back from Mission Flint they did this summer, and they were talking about the experience they had at the soup kitchen. And they said, we didn't just give people food. We sat with people. We talked with people. We were with them. We were together. So can you see Jesus there? And the people doing the serving and the people being served? Remember, he told us, whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me. So there he is. There's Jesus. So the fact is, anytime we experience kindness and mercy, anytime we treat others with kindness and mercy, anytime we see somebody else treating another person out of love with kindness and mercy, there's Jesus. So if we stop and think about it, just about everywhere we look, if we pay attention, we can see him. And that changes everything. When we see Jesus, we can know his mercy. We can see his kindness. And we can feel his love. And when you do that, you know what you're going to find? You're going to find out that Jesus loves you. That you are worth everything to him. Everything. You are his son. You are his daughter. And there is nothing he wouldn't do for you. He always has been, and he always will be with you. He will hold you. He will comfort you. He will console you. You see what Jesus, he takes away our shame. He takes away our fears. With Jesus, we are not alone anymore. We are not lost anymore. With Jesus, our lives are transfigured. Our lives are transformed into something much more beautiful. And today, we have Raven with us, who is going to enter into that life, enter into this family of God, so that she too can be loved by God and all of us, so that she'll know she is worth everything. There is nothing he wouldn't do for her.